Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Week 2 in the books for the Big 12 people. I wish I could be excited. And unfortunately for the teams that handled their business, the Big 12 just laid a big egg this past weekend. As a matter of fact, a lot of embarrassment this past weekend. We don't need to sugarcoat it. And again, this is not a knock or anything bad against the teams that did handle their business. But you're in a conference and you take on the identity of your conference. And unfortunately, this past weekend was not a good look for the Big 12. We're going to break all of it down for you guys. So I appreciate everybody being in here. Again, before we get started, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments section. And as always, hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So I've broken it down into 5 different categories for what the Big 12 did this weekend. Basically, the slaughters, the games that were slaughters, workmanlike, wins within the conference, disappointments, embarrassments, and then spectacular. Y'all made fun of me last week for using the word spectacular. I like spectacular. I'm going to keep using it. I like that word. I don't think we use it enough. Having said all of that, let's get started. Look, there were some slaughters. Now, there'll be a game that doesn't get mentioned in the slaughter, and you guys are going to say, come on, Big B. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but just stick around to the end. I promise we'll get to it. But first off, the slaughters, UCF just dominates North Carolina A&T. UCF had a big bounce back win. They didn't play well first week of the season. I don't know if they're going to have a quarterback controversy. Tavon Jackson played well. Cam Fancher, who was their starter last week, was out this past week with the win. But it was a blowout. 68-7. It was just a massacre. UCF getting, basically handling their business and maybe riding a ship against a team that they need to ride their ship against. Arizona, 48-3. Again, look, just not even close to a close football game. Noah Fafita out there throwing the ball all over the yard, 373, 5 touchdowns. Look, Arizona, it is what it is at this point in the season. They got a game this coming Friday against Kansas State, who's not any good. I suspect Arizona is going to be favored in this football game. We'll see what happens. But up to this point, look, I'm a big person on just calling it as we see it. Don't sugarcoat anything. And maybe Arizona hasn't played the best competition up to this point. Not sure they're going to play the best competition on Friday either. Having said that, they have looked really good up to this point in the season. We have to give them credit for that because I'm not sure a lot of people thought they were going to even look this good, even against the competition that they have faced. So good for them. Houston over Rice. Again, it was more of a workmanlike type of game, but it was a blowout. Houston, look, again, super vanilla against Rice. Didn't do a ton. They ran the ball all over Rice. But Houston has found, looks like they have found an offense. And if they've found an offense to go with that defense, look out. That's all I'm going to tell everybody in the Big 12. Look out. Again, early opponents, not great. But if they have actually found an offense, because they've been super vanilla the first 2 weeks, if they found something, just pay attention, Big 12, to Houston. Pay close attention because you know that defense is going to be good. Willie Fritt's not going to have a defense that's going to be bad. He doesn't stand for that. Utah, Lord have mercy, smacks around Cal Poly. Again, Utah showing that it can be the class of the league. Again, hasn't played good competition. I know a lot of people thought, well, maybe UCLA is pretty good. Yeah, we saw they got whipped by UNLV this weekend. They're not, but that's not Utah's fault. Utah does exactly what they're supposed to do. Blow out the teams you're supposed to blow out. So, I thought they were going to be a really good team coming into the year. They are a good team. Now, clearly, they haven't been tested. But, again, It's not their problem. Their job is to go dominate people, and that's what they've done up to this point. Good job, Utes. You're standing tall for the conference. You're standing tall for the conference. Good for you. Texas Tech, again, just a blowout. Look, Barrett Morton's played in this game. I thought they'd hold him out, but apparently the injury that he sustained in week 1 wasn't near as bad. He was out there throwing the ball all over the yard, threw for 3 touchdowns. Again, not tested in the non-conference. I thought that Tech may get a little bit tested when they play Oregon State. Turns out Oregon State is an absolute fraud. So, not that we thought they were going to be good, but they're a fraud. Fraud is a key word, ladies and gentlemen. Fraud is a key word. Keep that in mind as we get later on into what we're talking about for the weekend. Because there's a team, maybe a couple of teams in the Big 12 that were absolute frauds that we'll discuss. Having said that, Texas Tech, look, we knew they were going to be good. We'll see. I can't wait for that Tech-Utah game. And it's early. I cannot wait for that game to happen. Now we move on to the workmanlike approach. BYU over Stanford. Here's the thing. Now, obviously, BYU's defense just shut everything Stanford wanted to do down. But Stanford's not a good football team. I'm going to say that. Stanford is a terrible football team. They may not win a game. And I just thought BYU would put up more points. That's all. You can say, come on, Big B, you're nitpicking, and maybe I am. I just think that BYU should have scored more than 27 points against a Stanford team that is pathetic. So, but that's my only nitpick with BYU. That's my only thing. And again, you're breaking in a new quarterback, a young quarterback. So I totally understand. Having said all of that, that defense of BYU looks really good. It looks good, people. I mean, again, a lot of BYU fans were saying, well, Big B, hold on, just let them ease into the season. And as we go along, we'll start to see things get better offensively, which everybody, I think, pretty much understood that. So hopefully that continues but this was a romp, but it was more of a workmanlike because I just thought BYU should have scored more points. That's all. I'm not bad or down on BYU at all. I just thought they should have scored more because Stanford stinks. Colorado over Delaware. Here's the thing. 31-7, Ryan Staub comes in. I guess technically he was the third quarterback, but he comes in and kickstarts the offense. I think they got a quarterback controversy at Colorado. But to be honest, I don't even think there needs to be a controversy. I think he needs to be the starter. He has looked better. Now, again, I know it wasn't against the greatest competition, but you saw the other two quarterbacks against this competition. I just think Ryan Staub is better. At least he's played better. He got the offense moving. I don't know. I mean, Colorado fans, get in the comments. Let me know what you think. I think Staub he makes the offense look better. It looked better when he was under control. Now, again, it's Delaware. I don't know, but I just know what I saw on Saturday, and it appears, and Coach Prime appears that maybe that's going to be the thing. I don't know. I know you can't play three quarterbacks in a game, and I would suspect the freshman Lewis is not going to play any longer, that he's going to redshirt this year, and he should. He should. He's 17 years old. He doesn't need to play this year. It's okay if he sits and is the future. But for this year, I don't know, man. I think it's Staub that you have to go with moving forward. But Colorado fans, beat up the comments. Let me know what you think on that. Either way, let me know what you think. And then Cincinnati over Bowling Green, 34-20. Look, Brendan Sorsby, huge bounce back game. I mean, had 69 yards passing against Nebraska and made the costly turnover at the end that cost them at least an opportunity to tie the game when they're in field goal range. He comes out and throws for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a big bounce back game. He was much better. He's a much better quarterback than what he showed against Nebraska. He is. He got help. That's another thing that I talked about last week, is that he needed some help. He got some of that help. He was also the leading rusher in the game. So I like Cincinnati bouncing back again against Bowling Green. Wasn't a blowout, but again, workmanlike type of game. It's a good start for Cincinnati. It's a good start. Now we get to the disappointment. And it's KU. And I'm not saying that, or let me rephrase it, not a disappointment. I'm disappointed in KU because I thought that KU had an opportunity to win the game. And they did have an opportunity. I mean, they were in it. But when you really do a deep dive into the numbers, KU scored 21 points in the first quarter and then 10 the rest of the game. They gave up 595 yards in total offense, so they couldn't even slow Missouri down. That's a problem. That's a problem. They didn't have a ton of offense. Basically, the last three quarters, it just didn't look good after the initial bust, the initial burst, and then it just kind of fizzled out, even though they were still in the game. That's the thing that I think was why I'm disappointed, is because they were still in the game. They just couldn't muster up enough offense or defense, I might add, to get over the hump. They just couldn't muster up enough. Having said all that, look, they lost the game. I get it, but they didn't embarrass themselves. It was on the road. Missouri's not bad. I mean, we're kidding ourselves if we think that Missouri's bad, but it's a game just like I said. It was a Big 12 middle-tier team against the SEC middle-tier team. On the road, you can't give up almost 600 yards, though. That's the thing. I mean, even if you only give up 500 yards, maybe the game's closer, but you can't give up 595 total offense and on the road and expect to win the game. That's you're just not going to be able to do that. So, but I thought they fought, but just couldn't muster enough stops and enough offense to win on the road there. Now we'll get to the embarrassments. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. The Big 12 laid an absolute egg in these games that I'm about to talk about. It was disgusting. It was despicable. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'll just start there. I'll start off with Oklahoma State. First off, Mike Gundy running off at the trap. Mike Gundy doesn't want to coach anymore. He doesn't want to coach anymore. Running off at the trap about how Oregon has bought a roster. Might I remind you that Oklahoma State was just a middling program until they got an influx of cash from T. Boone Pickens. And all of a sudden, and not to mention, that's around when they hired Mike Gundy, who's a great football coach. And all of a sudden, they become a good program. Well, imagine that. You get a big donor to donate. At the time, it was the most money that anybody had ever donated to an athletic program in the history of college sports. And Oklahoma State goes from a middling football program, which they were, and all of a sudden they're winning Big 12 championships. They're nationally ranked, going to big-time bowl games. Well, that's how it works. Imagine that. And then you run off with the trap about how Oregon, who now can legally buy players, they just do it better. And yes, they have a huge donor. It's to their advantage. Sorry. You had a huge donor. If T. Boone Pickens was still around, and God rest his soul, do you think that he wouldn't be throwing tons of money at Oklahoma State right now? Do you really believe that we all knew how competitive Mr. Pickens was? You think that he wouldn't be doing the same thing? Stop it, Mike Gundy. Just stop and just go retire, because clearly you don't want to coach anymore. I get it. I totally understand. This is what it is. And you got embarrassed. 69-3? Come on. 69-3? That's where you're at? Come on. You're not going to be able to convince me that Oregon is that much better than you. Or maybe they are. Maybe they actually are, and that's how bad Oklahoma State is. We'll see in the coming weeks. And maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but I don't think I am. I just don't think Mike Gundy wants to coach anymore, and that's fine. That's fine. But that was an embarrassment. Absolute embarrassment. Speaking of embarrassment, and remember earlier I mentioned the word fraud. Kansas State University. Kansas State, they're a fraud. Absolute fraud. Everybody thought they were going to compete for the Big 12 title. And while technically they can still do that, does anybody really believe that that's what's going to happen? Kansas State is a fraud. And they got embarrassed by Army. lost at home 24-21. There was a time in the second half where Army was on the football. Their offense was on the field for 41 straight plays. They go on these long drives. They go on a 14-play drive. Kansas State returns the kickoff for a touchdown. Army goes on a 15-play drive. Then Army kicks an onside kick, which Coach Kleiman, for some whatever reason, lied about, saying, well, we were expecting it, and our guy wasn't bailing out, when clearly you can see on the screen the ball gets kicked off of an up man who is bailing out on the play. Why he lied, I have no clue. Having said all of that, Army gets the ball back and go on another 15-play drive. I mean, it was just insane. But it is what it is. How about you just stop them, K-State? I mean, you are allowed to make Army punt. You are allowed to stop them when they go for it on fourth down. You're allowed to do that. And regardless of how tired you are, other teams stop Army. Tarleton State figured out how to stop Army. Why couldn't you? I don't know. Like I said, Kansas State is an absolute fraud. That was an absolute despicable display. I mean, 40 minutes of time of possession for Army to 19 for Kansas State. Until the last drive, Kansas State had 4 offensive plays in the second half. 4 plays. I mean, think about that for a second. They had 4 plays until the last 2 minutes of the second half. That in itself is an embarrassment. Don't know where you go from here. I really don't. Ooh, ugly, ugly football. Another embarrassment. West Virginia losing to Ohio. Get out of here. Again, another time of possession, 40 minutes to 16, which is weird that it's 40 minutes to 16, but whatever. I can't get off the football field. 17-10. You can only get 10 points against Ohio. That's what you're capable of getting. And now I know West Virginia fans are going to say, well, Jaheim White got hurt. I understand. But if you're telling me the difference between West Virginia being able to score and move the football is because they had Jaheim White, like the offensive line isn't capable of just blowing people off the ball from Ohio, and you can have your backup running back run for 120 yards? You're not capable of doing that? Come on. And look, I tried to praise West Virginia last week because they did look good, but it was Robert Morris. You play a group of 5 team, and this is what you look like. Absolute embarrassment. I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you. I do know that they got outgained. What was it? 429 yards to 250. Ohio outgained West Virginia. You heard me right. A Rich Rod offense. 429 to 250. Disgusting. Just disgusting. Lord have mercy. And then last but absolutely not least, Mississippi State beats Arizona State 24-20. Look, Sam Levitt had 82 yards passing. Now, before Arizona State fan, but we had 251 yards rushing. I don't care. I don't care that you had 251 yards rushing. 82 yards passing is disgusting, and you know it. You know it. You know you didn't play well. You know you went up there thinking that you were better than what you apparently were, and you got beat. And Mississippi State is probably better than what they were. Well, they're definitely better than what they were last year. But they're probably better than what myself and what a lot of people anticipated. But let's make no mistake about it. Mississippi State's going to lose a lot of football games this year. That's going to happen. And for you to go there, and I thought it was coaching error too. At the end of the game, Arizona State goes on that long drive. They get down to the foot line. And then it seemed like they didn't really want to score a touchdown. Like, it just seemed like, okay, we're down here. We just kind of want to run the clock. We're not going to get innovative on the goal line to try to score. You know, we'll just run it right up the gut, line everybody, and hopefully maybe we can mash them. Maybe we can. I don't know. I didn't think they tried. They did enough to try to score a touchdown when they could have. Instead, they kicked a field goal. Okay. And then inexplicably on 3rd and 9, you've been playing too deep the whole time, basically a prevent. 3rd and 9, you decide to go man coverage and leave the middle of the field wide open. Man runs a post route. Actually, it was a switch route. The defenders get confused on who's supposed to cover the guy running to the post. Touchdown. Inexcusable. Inexcusable. So I don't know. I mean, if you're going to tell me that supposedly was the best team that the Big 12 had, which I think right now I should have taken the bait from the week before, and a lot of you got in the comments and beat me up about it and said, Big B, Arizona State is not that good. Look at that game against Northern Arizona. And I should have listened, and I didn't. You were right. I was wrong. It happens. But that's where we are. It was disgusting display. You supposedly, I mean, you're the highest ranked Big 12 team. Whether they should have been ranked there or not, they were. You have to go win the game. Even if it's a drag down, knockout, close game, you still have to find a way to win. You didn't. It's an embarrassment. Just an embarrassment. However, there is good news. We got some spectacular games. You know, Iowa State beats Iowa. The Cyhawk game, look, 16-13. I mean, did we think the score was going to be high? I mean, it was 29 points as far as the over. I think if you'd have put the over under at 22, they would have found a way to be under 22. That's just what this game is. First off, it was a great football game. It was an outstanding football game. Not a lot of offense, a lot of defense, but it was a great football game. Iowa State's really good. Iowa is good, but I mean, even if Iowa's not great, this game is just going to be close. It's just going to be close. That's just the way it is that it's going to be close. They're rivals. They don't really like each other. They're going to battle it out. I love this football game, but I was proud that Iowa State made enough plays to go win this football game. They hadn't won at home against Iowa in a while. So that's something to keep in mind. They had not done that in a while, but they were able to get the victory and stand up for the Big 12 Conference. And then Baylor University. I went to the game. It's down the road at SMU. And look, 5.5 minutes to go. Baylor's down 2 touchdowns. You're like, yep, that's it. That's it. Instead, they get a stop. They score a touchdown. They get another stop. Score another touchdown. Sawyer Robertson, look, people, I 400 yards plus in both games. I mean, he was 440 yards this past game. He was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. Baylor, again, first of all, they were down 14 twice in this game, and they had an opportunity to quit. They did. Again, you're down 5 because I think it was with 8 minutes to go. They had just lost the ball on downs. And then they forced a 3-and-out from SMU, which is exactly what you had to do. They did it and went and scored. Stopped them again, went and scored. And also, they almost got hosed in the game. I don't know if any of you guys watched. They almost got hosed with a targeting call that absolutely wasn't even close. You could see it plain as day watching the game. You're like, that's not targeting. And then they slow it down because I thought they're going to take this game away from Baylor, aren't they? By calling a BS targeting call. But to everybody's, they didn't do it. They took it back. And I'm like, well, thank goodness somebody, because even still, how many times have we seen, oh, that's not targeting? We see, even the replay shows it's not targeting. How many times have they stayed with the call? Well, they didn't stay with the call, which I was happy for because it shouldn't have been. And I'm tired of all this quarterback dropping down late at the very last second, and then people, it's unnecessary roughness. He dropped less than a half second in front of a defender. Stop it. You don't want to get hit? Get down early. I don't want to hear it. It's football still, and quarterbacks play on a football field. Stop the nonsense. But Baylor, I was glad they did it. Glad they hung tough and was able to get a tough road win over a ranked team. But just as I suspected, As soon as Baylor won the game, rankings came out, SMU nowhere to be found. I told you all that was going to happen. Not only are they nowhere to be found, SMU is in the middle of the pack of receiving votes. And they were number 16 and number 17 in the country. I told you all that was going to happen. If Baylor wins, they were going to totally disrespect SMU. 16 in the country to nothing? It is what it is, man. It is what it is. In the AP poll, they did the same thing to Arizona State. It's like, you got to be. I think they were 11 in the AP poll and nothing. I'm like, man, well, they will do anything to get rid of these football teams, won't they? But in the SEC, they won't. I don't want to get into that. Neither here nor there. Bottom line is, we needed to go 4-2 in these games against the Power 4 conferences. We ended up going 3-3. Not ideal. And not only did the Big 12 go 3-3, they also lost 2 games to Group of 5 teams in embarrassing fashion. Look, I'm positive about the conference. I think we have to shift our way of thinking to saying, you know what? There were a couple of frauds, Arizona State, Kansas State. There were a couple of frauds, and unless they prove us otherwise, that's what we're going to call them, frauds. Okay? But you know who's not? Your TCUs, your Utahs, your BYUs, your Texas Tech, your Iowa States. Those teams are not frauds. Baylor lost. Maybe Auburn's really good. I know they're ranked, but that's neither here nor there. But maybe Auburn is going to be really good. Now Baylor's got to find some defense. I mean, you can't be giving up 45 points every week and expect to be a good football team. Having said all of that, I think it's okay to call what some of these teams are. I think 2 weeks is definitely not long enough to define your season, but I'm the type of person, I can only judge you based on what I see in the time allowed. There's been 3 weeks for Kansas State. You've been a fraud every single week. You're a fraud. There's been 2 weeks for Arizona State. You've basically been a fraud for 2 weeks. Northern Arizona, you were probably a fraud. Mississippi State, you absolutely were. Just call it what it is. Utah, Iowa State, TCU, BYU, Texas Tech, not frauds. So shift your focus to those teams for now to carry the torch of the conference. I said there were 7 teams at the beginning of this. I'm not going to say Arizona State still can't win it. So maybe there's 6, but I still say they're a fraud. Kansas State, you're going to have to show me something before I even think about putting you back in that 7. It's going to be a minute. And even if you win Friday, that's not enough for me. So you have looked pathetic for basically the first 3 weeks. So that's the Big 12 recap, people. It was a tough one. But luckily we have opportunities to move forward. It doesn't have to define who we are. We still have some really, really good football teams, and that's just where the focus needs to be now, people. You just need to focus on who's really good. And, we said it before, the season, it sorts some things out, and it has so far in only the second week of the season. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for always showing up. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comments, and always hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. Until next time, Power Rankings are tomorrow, people. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.